Hello students, at first I must welcome you all to RKS Economics class. Students, today we will discuss regarding the evolution and functions of money, and with regard to evolution of money I must say that in the early stage of civilization, during the first stage of civilization, during the primitive society, in the primitive society there was barter system. We all know that in the earliest stage of civilization, wants were very few, and at that time there was barter system. There was no medium of exchange. Money was not introduced at that time. So there was barter system. What is barter system? You see, what is barter system? Barter system means direct exchange of goods against goods. Direct exchange of goods against goods. Commodity against commodity. Directly, if you have some commodity, you have a particular good and you want another good, then you exchange your commodity for that commodity. So there was direct exchange of good against good or commodity against commodity in the barter system. But during this time, during barter, people have to face many difficulties. Barter system entailed they had to face many difficulties. This system entailed many difficulties. What are they? Number one is lack of double coincidence of wants. You see, this lack of double coincidence of wants. It was the main difficulty during barter, in the barter system. What is it? What is lack of double coincidence of wants? Double coincidence of wants implies that goods in possession of two different individuals or two different persons must be needed by each other. Needed by each other. It means what I want must be there with a particular person, and what he wants must be there with me. Then only exchange becomes possible in barter. You see, it was very difficult, really it was very difficult in barter system to find a person who wants the commodity in your possession and at the same time possesses the commodity that you want to buy, right? So it was very difficult to find out such a person who wants the commodity in my possession in exchange of the commodity in his possession, right? So it was lack of double coincidence of wants. Wants were not there was no coincidence of wants, double coincidence of wants. Number two is that lack of common measure of value. There was no common measure of value like today. Today we can measure the value of any commodity with money. Money acts as medium of exchange. But in barter there was lack of common measure of value. The values of different commodities were not exactly measured. The values of different commodities cannot be compared in barter system. It was very difficult to exchange take place in between two commodities. How much of one commodity is to be exchanged for another commodity? It was very difficult to measure the value of these commodities. Then number three is difficulty of subdivision. Third difficulty was difficulty of subdivision in barter. If there is a small good and there is another good which is indivisible, then in exchange of a small good, the good of less value, a person cannot give a good which is indivisible. So there was difficulty of subdivision, right? Difficulty of subdivision was there. Then another difficulty was lack of store of value. Number 4 was lack of store of value. What is that? There was no store of value. People could not store goods or commodities for future because they were perishable. They deteriorate in their value. So there was lack of store of value, but now it is very easy to store the value of different commodities in terms of money. So these 4 difficulties was there during barter system. Number 1 is lack of double coincidence of funds, number 2 is lack of common measure of value, number 3 is difficulty of subdivision and lack of store of value. Now, after facing these difficulties in barter system, different animals, different metals, different commodities like cow, sheep, gold, silver, copper and others were used as medium of exchange. Right? To just overcome the main difficulty of lack of double coincidence of wants, different commodities, different animals, different metals were used by the people as medium of exchange. But then also certain difficulties arise. And what were these difficulties? There were shortage of the commodity, fear of shortage of the commodity, right? Fear of shortage of the commodity, then lack of uniformity. Another difficulty was there by using different commodities as medium of exchange. Then lack of easy transferability. It was very difficult to transfer huge amount of metals or commodities from one place to another place just to take exchange in between two commodities. So, due to these difficulties and to overcome these difficulties, money has been introduced and widely accepted as a medium of exchange. After facing these difficulties in barter system, to overcome the difficulties of barter system, some commodities were used as medium of exchange. Then also people had to pass certain difficulties, and to overcome these difficulties, automatically money has been introduced and widely accepted as a medium of exchange. Then we will go to definitions of money. What are they? There are many definitions given by many economists, but the definitions given by Robertson particularly and G. Crowther, they are the important definitions of money. Professor D. H. Robertson has given the legal definition of money. Legal definition was given by Professor D. H. Robertson, and his definition is anything which is widely accepted in payment for goods or in discharge of other kinds of business obligations. Anything which is widely accepted in payment for goods or in discharge of other kinds of business obligations, that is money. So, anything which is widely accepted means all are bound to accept that. Legally, each and every individual in any sort of transaction should accept money as a medium of exchange, accept money in payment for goods, or accept money in discharge of any kind of business obligation. That is legal definition. Why it is legal definition? Why D.H. Robertson's definition is known as legal definition? Because legally everybody is bound to accept money as medium of exchange. Legally everybody is bound to accept money for payment of goods or in discharge of any kind of business obligations, right? Next, we will go to functional definition given by Crowther. You see, Professor Crowther has given the functional definition of money. Functional definition of money given by Professor Crowther, and his definition is anything that is generally acceptable as a means of exchange and that at the same time acts as a measure and store of value. You see, the functions of money are clearly mentioned in the definition of Professor Crowther. Anything that is generally acceptable as a means of exchange and that is at the same time acts as a measure of value and store of value. Three functions are given. You see, three functions Professor Crowther has mentioned in his definition. Three important functions of money mentioned in the definition of Crowther, that is functional definition. Anything that is generally accepted as a means of exchange means it is accepted as medium of exchange. Number two is measure of value, and number three is store of value. So these three functions are mentioned in his definition. That's why his definition is known as functional definition. Then Professor Seligman defined money as money is anything that possesses general acceptability. Anything that has general acceptability is money as per Seligman. And Professor Francis Walker said money is what money does. Money is what money does. It means from the very functions of money we can define money, right? So these are the functions, these are the definitions of money. Then we will go to discuss the functions of money. You see, functions of money. So from the very definition of money given by Professor Crowther, that is functional definition, we know about three important functions of money: medium of exchange, measure of value, measure of value and store of value. Yes. And after considering all the definitions of money, we generally, there is a couplet, that is money is a matter of functions for a medium. Money is a matter of functions for a medium, a measure, a standard and a store. Yes, money is a matter of functions for. There are four functions of money. What are they? A medium means a medium of exchange, measure means measure of value, standard means standard of deferred payments, and store means store of value. So these four functions, we clearly know about the four functions from this couplet, right? They are medium of exchange, measure of value, standard of deferred payment and store of value. Let us discuss about them. And you see, here we have mentioned that medium of exchange and measure of value, they are known as primary functions, and standard of deferred payment and store of value, they are known as secondary functions, right? So these functions are discussed below. So primary functions means two functions are there: medium of exchange and measure of value. Secondary functions means standard of deferred payments and store of value. Then we will discuss regarding these functions briefly. Number one is medium of exchange. In barter, goods were exchanged for goods which required double coincidence of wants. We have already discussed the very difficulty of barter system, that was lack of double coincidence of wants. There was a difficulty in double coincidence of wants, but after introduction of money, it is no more required. Double coincidence of wants is no more required. Money acts as a medium of exchange. The exchange process has been divided into two parts. After accepting money as medium of exchange, the exchange process has been divided into two parts. What are they? First, goods are exchanged for money. And next, money is parted with goods for goods. That means we exchange the goods and services in our possession and get money, and with that money we can purchase, we can buy the goods and services required by us, right? So now after introduction of money, money acts as medium of exchange. That's why now it is commodity money commodity system. Commodity money commodity system or CMC system is going on. You see here, money acts as medium of exchange. We sell our commodity, we sell commodities with us and get money, and with using that money again we can purchase other commodities or goods and services. So now money acts as medium of exchange. Is transaction process after introducing money as medium of exchange. Now transaction process indulges in two distinct operations. Number one is a sell, number two is a purchase. First we sell the goods with us, get money, and with that money we go for purchasing other goods, like, right. Then we will discuss the next function, that is measure of value. In barter, measure of value, second important function, which is primary function of money. In barter it was extremely difficult to compare values or fix the ratio of exchange. It was very difficult to compare values or fix the ratio of exchange of any two commodities, as there was no common measure of value. How we compare value if there is no common measure of value? Or how we can fix the ratio of exchange of two commodities, because there is no measurement of value of each commodity. So these are the difficulties in barter. But after introduction of money, money acts as a medium of exchange or unit of account or common measure of value. Now the value of each good and service is measured in terms of monetary unit, in terms of money or monetary unit. We are capable of easily knowing the rate of exchange in between two commodities. This is 5 rupees, this is 10 rupees. If we want to exchange within two commodities, then the commodity with 10 rupees will get the 2 units of commodity with 5 rupees, rating 5 rupees, right. So it was second function, that is the common measure of value. Then we will go to third function, that is standard of deferred payments. What is deferred payment? It is also important function and secondary function of money, standard of deferred payments. Deferred payments refer to those payments which are to be made sometimes in the future. If we want to give a promise, please give me this amount, I will pay you in future. That is just a promise to pay in the future, that is known as deferred payment. When the payment is postponed for the present time and to be made in future, it is known as standard of deferred payment, and money acts as a standard of deferred payment. Now goods and services are exchanged or provided on the present against promises to pay on a future date. Goods are exchanged on the present against promises to pay on a future date, right. This is deferred payment, right. So this standard of deferred payment was not there in barter system. It was very difficult in barter to borrow goods from somebody with a promise to pay in future. But now credit transactions are going on. Creditors gives loan to the debtors against the promises of the debtor to make payment in the future. If I want money, I want some goods, I can borrow them with just a promise to pay it in future, right. So it is possible nowadays because money acts as a standard of deferred payments. Now let us go to the fourth function of money, that is store of value. Store of value. Another secondary function of money, it is known as store of value. What is store of value? We know that there was no store of value. It was impossible to store the values of commodities during barter system. So when people save a part of their income for their future needs, it is called store of value. We save a part of our income. We save goods in terms of money for future needs, for future. So it is known as store of value. In barter system, it was not possible to store values. Goods generally perish, they destroy if they are kept for future. We could not store goods to be used in future, to be exchanged in future. But instead of keeping goods, storing goods, we can store the values of those goods for future. So now in terms of money, we can store values of goods, as value of money remains relatively stable compared to other commodities, and storage of money does not need much space. It is convenient to store values in terms of money. You see, in barter system, if we go for storing some commodities, keep some commodities, naturally they are destroyable, they are perishable, right? It wants a greater space, right? And its value does not remain stable. That's why when in this money economy we use money to store values, then it is convenient to store values in terms of money. So money acts as store of value. Now these were the four main functions of money: medium of exchange, measure of value, standard of deferred payment, and store of value. Actually, they are the primary and secondary functions of money. But besides the above functions, money also serves as a convenient mode of transfer of value. Remember, convenient mode of transfer of values. If we want to transfer values from a particular place to another place, it is possible only through money. Anybody can sell his immovable property at a particular distant place for money and purchase similar property at some other places using that money. For example, somebody is working and at a particular distant place, he has a house, he has some properties there. If after some time he wants to shift from that place, then he can sell his property there, and with the same money he can purchase the similar properties or similar goods, the similar house in this place. So transfer of values is possible with money. So these are the functions of money we have discussed. So we will meet in our next class. Thank you all. Thank you. Have a nice day. And I hope you will subscribe the channel if you have not subscribed yet. And please like, share and give your comments regarding this video. Thanks for watching. Thank you all.